Hi, Christopher Hine here. Just wanted to take a second to talk to you guys about martial arts and self-defense and what those two things are. So martial arts are the exploration of yourself through martial means, right? Through studying different styles of conflict, we learn more about ourselves, right? And so the struggles you put yourself in through martial arts training help you become a better person. Meaning that you can become more disciplined, more self-actualized, more empathetic towards others, more determined. You know, all these great things come out of martial art training. It's because we force ourselves to go through the conflict and we become a better person. And this means the martial art training just improves our overall life. So our life gets better because we undergo martial arts training. Training for self-defense is a very specific thing. I'm training not necessarily to make myself a better person, but to make myself a more able person in a situation where I feel my life is threatened. So if my life is threatened, that's the kind of situation where I want to be able to come out on top, and I know decisive, awesome methods for dealing with whatever comes at me, right? Okay, the problem is we intermix those two ideas a lot. So something like a sport martial art is a great avenue, a great vehicle for studying the overall idea of martial arts, which is to develop myself into a better person. That's because the sport will force you to go to competitions and face fears and go through daily training that's really difficult and all kinds of awesome stuff. So difficult things are forced on you through sport, and that will help you become a better person, more determined and all that. And especially when you're in the younger stages of life, trying to get a handle on how life works, something like a sport martial arts is a great way to develop yourself as a person. Sport martial arts are not excellent methods of self-defense study. And the reason for that is because they tend to focus on fair play, and they tend to focus on, especially in modern times, they tend to focus on unarmed methods, and they tend to focus on situations where it's you against one other person, mano a mano. So these are not realistic self-defense situations. Realistic self-defense situations are probably someone trying to attack you with a weapon, someone trying to attack you with 3 other buddies, someone attacking you in the dark or when you're not paying attention. So the kinds of situations that you'll face when you need self-defense is very different than the kinds of situations that you face in sport. In sport specifically, because we're trying to figure out who's better at the sport, we eliminate things like surprise, things like weapons, things like numbers, things like crazy environmental differences. So these 4 important factors are eliminated from sport, and they're eliminated for a very important reason. That's because we want to find out who the best individual is in a sport competition. So we pull out all those things. But in real life, you want those things on your side, right? So that's why there's gangs in the world, because they want a bunch of numbers on their side, because it makes it more likely that they'll be able to defend themselves and get done what they need to get done. That's why things like weapons in real life are very common, because a tool like that is very powerful and gives you an advantage in real life. We don't see that kind of stuff in sport. So sport's very good. It makes you physically strong, makes you determined, gives you lots of great life skills. But sport isn't a great method for self-defense study. If you've ever heard something late at night and it scares you, right? You hear some kind of crazy noise in the house. Did you ever think you want to just run out there unarmed and deal with it, like punch someone or wrestle someone? You know, maybe if you study a lot of that, that's what you thought. But for most of us, we think, what can I pick up to defend myself with, right? So I want something in my hand that I could hit someone with, and that's because this gives me an advantage. I want a tool. Humans are tool users, right? So that's the reason why bears and lions and things don't rule the planet. Humans rule the planet because we've got a brain that says we can make a tool, and this tool will give me an advantage in a situation. Even if physically I'm not superior to someone, right? Even the most physically awesome human in the world is nothing compared to a tiger. But tigers have to live out in the forest while we live in the city. And the reason for that is because we have great tools that can keep tigers at bay, right? So no matter how physically dominant you are, a tool can level the playing field. So in self-defense, you need to think of different things than you need to think of in sport or regular martial arts training. So if your real emphasis is self-defense, you should probably be thinking primarily about what kind of weapons can I learn to use, right? This is a good thing. Teamwork skills, right? How can I work with others? How can I work with my wife? How can I work with my brothers or sisters? How can I work with my mom and dad? How can I work with my neighbors? How can I work with people who are close to me in order to help me overcome whatever difficulties come, right? So numbers is super important. Environmental factors. Can I fight when it's a low light situation? Can I fight if I'm cold? Can I fight if I'm hot? Can I fight in a mountainous situation? Could I fight in an urban situation? Do I understand my environment, what's around me, and can I use that to my advantage, right? So environmental things. Can I get surprise on someone, and can I keep myself from being surprised? Am I alert enough and mindful enough that I pay attention to my surroundings and I'm not going to be blindsided by something? If I know that there's a threat coming, am I clever enough to plan a strategy to get the surprise, to get the drop on whoever it is who's planning to do something to me, right? So surprise is a huge and important factor when you're talking about this. So you need to look at a different set of ideas when you're talking about self-defense training, right? And that's a specific thing. I'm trying to get out of a bad situation versus martial arts training, which is I'm trying to grow myself through conflict practice, right? So practicing the different things you find in conflict. So I'm Christopher Hine. Thanks a lot for listening to this. There's going to be a series of videos coming where I talk more about what's really important in a self-defense situation versus what's important for being a martial artist. All right, thanks a lot, guys.